This week's Torah reading explains the method of navigation, if you will, used by the Israelites in the desert. There was a cloud that would hang over the Mishkan, the temporary temple-type structure complex thing. They often translate tabernacle. I love that word. It sounds like the sort of thing that you'd say, tabernacle, I don't know what it is, but I know I want one. Sorry, digression. It details the method of travel that they would use. There was this cloud that was hanging over the Mishkan. And when the cloud would lift up, they would know it's time to go. And when the cloud would settle, they would stay where they are. Tradition has that over the 38 years of wandering, the longest they ever spent in one place was 19 years in a place called Kadesh. The shortest they ever spent in one place was one day. Although I don't know where that is. I don't know what the tradition teaches. I've never heard. Okay, interesting lesson, but here's the problem. They were going to the land of Israel. That was, Canaan, as it was known at the time. That was an 11-day journey from Egypt. But we know that there was a reason they had to spend so many years in the desert. Okay, we're not going to get into that. It's a little embarrassing. But they did. Part of the problem, though, is since you're not going on a direct route, you're taking a few stops along the way. There were plenty of stops they made. A whole list of them later in the Torah. You don't know where you're going to end up at any given time. The cloud lifts and you just move, and you just follow it. And that's it. If it goes, you go, and if it stays still, you stay still, and that's it. You don't really know where you're going. And I used to be a pilot, and when I was in flight school, one of the things they taught me was, you don't take off without a destination. That's a good lesson for life. I guess the lesson here, though, is, people have those bumper stickers that say, God is my co-pilot, right? Well, in a sense, when God is your navigator, that is your destination. And, at the risk of sounding exceptionally corny, God is telling you, don't worry, I got this. You don't need to know the destination. You know ultimately what the destination will be. A generation from now, you're going to end up in the land of Israel. But it'll take its time, and there are a lot of stops along the route, and you don't know what they are. But that's okay. Because I'm not going to say, it's all about the journey. That's corny, and I don't like it. But in a sense, there's something to be said for that. But the fact is that you don't need to know the steps. You know that God has the plan, and you can't always see what the steps along the way will be to make that happen. You just need to trust that God is your navigator. God's not your co-pilot, God's your navigator. You're the pilot. Maybe your husband or your wife or your friends are your co-pilots. God's your navigator. He'll get you there eventually. He'll drop you hints as to how to do what it is you need to do. But ultimately, it's up to you to follow those instructions and to get there. And as long as you're following the path that God has laid out for you as best you can understand it, you'll get there eventually. Sometimes the route is long, sometimes it's short, sometimes it's twisted and convoluted. But eventually you'll make it to your destination. Just trust. Shabbat Shalom.